to this week's episode of our podcast, Just Us Being Us. I'm your host, Adela Relentless, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I am Bugbee, and I am giddy.
I am Red Rebecca, and I am discombobulated.
And I'm apparently the anime nerd today, but still normal, so we're okay. I like how we debate my normalcy like every week when we record these.
I mean,
It's because we know you.
exactly.
Yeah, and then compared to the two of you, again, still the normal one.
Yeah, but if
That's
you're the
what's
odd one
interesting.
out, maybe you aren't the normal one.
Yeah, maybe
You know,
we're the
in all
normal
honesty,
ones.
it depends on
Majority
the
vote here.
episode. It depends on the episode on whether I'm the normal one or not. If we're talking ADHD again, I'm definitely not the normal one.
That's fair.
Which, luckily enough, we are not talking about ADHD today. We are actually talking about self-care. So yes, I'm still technically the normal one. But for those of you on the YouTube live and maybe on the podcast, I'm not exactly sure how this is all going to turn out, but we are doing our episode a little bit differently today. So if you guys are on the YouTube, you guys can actually see that we are virtual today. We had a couple scheduling conflicts, but we wanted to make sure that this content was still getting out to all of you guys. So we are trying a virtual platform today. So feel free to let us know, what you guys think, and pretty much if you enjoy this better versus the live set, and we'll see where it goes. But hopefully this episode today will still help bring some light to your guys' week. We're really looking forward to being able to talk to you guys about this. We tried recording this episode like multiple times.
Yeah, this will be time
But-
number 3.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, just things kept happening. And I mean, the first time I think we had like a technical issue. The second time we had like a personal issue. And then so here's strike 3. Hopefully it works.
Third time's a
But-
I
charm.
said the YouTube, by the way.
Yeah.
The
What?
YouTube. You're pointing out your granniness here. Adela.
Wait, what? What?
What? But wait,
YouTube.
hold up. Oh.
Go put it all in the old YouTube box.
In all fairness, though, I mean, that is what the video platform streams on.
The YouTube.
The you.
Yeah. I'm from
I'm
California.
gonna go
We have
hop on the
everything.
Facebook.
I don't say that. I just say Facebook.
I didn't even catch it, but yeah, that's funny.
Well, in all fairness, like I said, I'm from California. We add the to everything, including our highway names. So,
You go hop
That's
on the
just
405, dude.
yeah, that's literally how we say it. We say the 405, the 10, the 210. And then so out here, when I moved to Missouri, everybody would just be like I-70 or 70 or 35. And I'm looking like,
Where's
What?
the?
yeah, where's the?
Where's
That is
the?
not part of your guys' highway names?
Hop on the 70 and go to the In-N-Out and grab me a burger and some fries, animal style, dude.
Says the one from Georgia. which
Can't do
we,
that.
which we cannot repeat half the things that come from your state,
Accurate.
let alone the hometown you're from.
Also accurate.
Cannot repeat that.
Oh. Yeah, at least not on the YouTube. Maybe in our Discord, but
Maybe.
Not on the
even then,
YouTube.
even then, that's questionable given the rules of our Discord being family friendly.
That's true. This is for a whole different platform, my dear.
Yes.
You get a free subscription to one.
I do.
Oh my goodness.
my- Okay. Oh jeez. Okay. Anyway, so on the topic of self-care,
Yeah, the topic of self-care.
that could
The
not have been
self-care.
a more perfect lead-in. I'm sorry.
I can't today.
Uh,
I'm
For the
gonna start
record.
crying.
For the record, it is early in the morning-ish, kind of, sort of. Eh,
At least
but-
early for us.
It is early for us. Also,
We're vampires.
it is cold outside, and I don't mean just a little bit cold. At last I looked, it was -4 outside with a wind chill of like -29. So
Yes,
I
we're
just saw a group
warmer
of
than
polar
her.
bears
We're
wearing
at
sweaters.
we're at -2.
ugh, it is brutal outside. So we're all just trying to, stay alive right now, and we're a
I'm
little
sure
delirious.
Anchorage, Alaska is warmer than we are now.
Oh, that's
Well,
great. I didn't sign
yeah.
up to live in Alaska. I signed up to live in Kansas.
Hey,
Alaska can take their weather back.
you are preaching to the choir because I moved from California to Missouri where wind hurts my face and I'm still questioning that decision on a daily basis.
Yeah, but it's not like this often. Like this,
That's true.
I
That is
can't
true.
think of a single time in my life that it has been this cold for this long that I can remember.
Again, it doesn't change that because my coldest days in California are like 68.
Well,
so
we can't all be spoiled.
I know, gosh. What is wrong with you guys?
Oh man. Okay, let's get on self-care topic before we just ramble for an hour.
I
Which
know.
totally
okay,
happened.
So,
It wouldn't be the first
anyways.
time.
I know. Marcus over there's just got to get through those blooper reels. Anyways, all right. So so on the topic of self-care, we wanted to really just kind of talk about different ways that we focus on doing self-care with kids, with families, with spouses, with work, and just overall day-to-day busy life. So really my biggest thing with self-care is I I make excuses for myself where I'm like I should be doing something way more productive in my day than taking care of myself. Why is that the logic? I have no idea. But for whatever reason, it's if you're not busy, you're lazy. And that's such an odd stigma that happens because if you go to any part of the world, like I did a lot of traveling as like a younger kid, like with my family and work life, that we are the only country that being busy is good. Like you go to certain parts of Europe and you tell them you're busy, they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like they legitimately will tell you they're sorry because being busy to them is a bad thing. It's insane. Like Japanese, their restaurants only open at certain times of the day because they focus on giving their employees rest times. Like it's insanity. And it's so well, and when I say insanity, I mean like insanity in a good way because it focuses more on the person and it's amazing to see. Like the first time I went to Japan, I was like, what do you mean I can't get a cheeseburger at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Like, why are you closed? Like, I couldn't understand it. And then somebody, like my friend, had actually explained to me, no, you like our restaurants close at certain times of the day because it allows employees to rest and then restructure so we can provide better service to our customers and people that come in. Like Japan, you don't ever tip. If you actually tip, they actually get offended because they believe that the service that you're paying for should already be good service. And so it's a really interesting thing. So when it comes to self-care, the US is not that way whatsoever. I mean, we
No.
are focused on busy or you're lazy. And it's just
a badge
like,
of honor to be overworked and exhausted.
Yes,
Yes,
it
exactly.
really is. It's kind of insane. And don't get me wrong, there is definitely something about having a good work ethic that you should have, but it shouldn't make you neglect yourself. And that's the problem I have with my self-care stuff is that it causes me to neglect myself because I'm just like and I mentioned this in previous episodes where if I'm not busy and I'm not productive, I get really depressed because I've trained myself to think, "Oh my gosh, like if I'm not working, if I'm not busy in my day, I don't know what to do with my life." And that is such a bad mentality to have and definitely something I'm working on in therapy. And my last therapy session, mind you, hit me really hard because my therapist had asked me this very difficult question and I'm still trying to figure out the answer to it, by the way. She asked me, "Okay, if you were to walk away from your job," she goes, "what is your sense of fulfillment?" And I was like, "Oh, we're going there today. Okay." Like it was just I sat there and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I can't." And
I don't know how to answer that either.
yeah, it was such a hard-hitting question, and it was a simple question that technically anybody should be able to answer, but me being such the workaholic that I am, I was like, I don't I don't know. Like, I mean, and don't get me wrong, like my kids and my family are a very big sense of fulfillment to me, but they're on a different level. Like they're like a life fulfillment versus a personal fulfillment. And that's where she was going with that was my personal fulfillment is so centered around working. It was I was like mortified. I was like, I can't oh my gosh, I can't word. I don't know the answer to that. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of my therapy homework right now is I have to kind of dig deep and search as to what my sense of fulfillment is outside of work because I put such an emphasis on working that I completely don't know what makes me happy outside of work other than maybe video games and Astarian. Obviously, we all know
Always
that's an easy
Astarian.
answer. Yes, always Astarian. um, but the reality is, like, when it comes to just me personally and the life goals and things that I want to achieve, they are all centered around work. It is so bad. So, question being, how do I counteract this? Well, part of the things I started recently are journaling. My therapist kind of had me start journaling and really just kind of brain dumping everything onto a piece of paper. And I'll be honest with you, like the concept of journaling to me like didn't make sense at first because I was like, well, what the heck am I going to be writing about? Like I need a topic.
Yeah.
Only to realize that I don't. And basically, the way she has me doing it is I just start writing. So, my first sentence in like half my journaling is I don't even know what I'm writing about. And then before I know it, like 5 minutes later, I'm just like deep diving into the deepest reaches of my trauma in my brain. And I'm like, okay, that's enough journaling for today. I'm just going to put that away.
Yep.
And then on top of that, my planner. My planner is obviously a very big one. For all of you that know and listen to the previous episode, yes, my planner is huge. We've talked about that before. It's the biggest way for me to focus on my week. And this year, I made my planner all Astarian themed. So it's even more encouraging to want to use it.
That just makes everything so much better.
Oh yeah.
It's way more encouraging when things are Astarian themed.
Yeah.
I know. I'm
I
gonna
know.
get a figure like the one that I had printed. Gonna print one for work so you can encourage me while I work.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I have to admit, I kind of wonder how your work's going to handle it, considering the way that you're planning to theme it.
I can have a blood splattered one.
That's fine.
I can have a non-blood splattered one.
I can have a safe one.
Oh my
Hey,
goodness.
not safe for work and safe for work. Not safe for work being blood splatters.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
I
It's fine. No deal.
I made an impulse buy the other day, which is a part of my self-care. I allow myself to do like little impulse buys every once in a while. We, being my daughter and I, were at Walmart the other day and we were getting a birthday gift for one of her school friends. We were going to her birthday party. And so we're walking around in the toy aisle while she's trying to pick out whatever for her friend. And I stop at the Star Wars station because Star Wars, And so my favorite droid in Star Wars is Chopper. And for those of you that don't know, I have him tattooed on my arm. So if you're on the YouTube, you can see that there. And
The YouTube. Yeah.
the YouTube, Lord.
See, I'm not the only one that does it.
We are the same age, girl. Come on. Come on.
Technically, I'm like 2 months older
Actually,
than you.
I was going to say she's technically older than you.
Grannies.
Oh gosh. Anyway, so if you're on the YouTube, you can see my Chopper tattoo. Because he's just my favorite droid in the whole Star Wars universe. And
The galaxy.
now The galaxy, yes, exactly. But now
I'm
that
telling you.
now that he has been in Ahsoka, which is the newer one on Disney, there's actually toys of him. Before there never really was anything for Chopper. So I got this little bobblehead of Chopper, and when you smack his head, he talks. And I love it.
Nice. Nice.
It's amazing. It's the best thing ever. It makes me so happy.
Beating up toys is your self-care. All right. all
Yeah.
right.
And for those of you that don't know, Chopper does not like actually talk. He's a droid, so he's not an audible droid.
Like,
Well,
beep, beep,
yeah,
beep.
it's like kind of R2, but a little bit different. But you can kind of hear in his dialect how sassy he is, and he's most definitely cussing people out all of the time. And so yeah, it makes me happy when I smack him in the head and then he cusses me out.
I can totally just picture you
Alright.
being on like a really bad work day, just sitting there.
I would show you guys, but I don't have it up here. It's downstairs, so I can't. I
get
can't
the
show.
chopper.
Go get that. Go
Get
get
to the chopper. I can't help but feel like this episode's gonna be way loopier than any of our others for some reason.
Probably because
Because I'm
we're
at home in my gym
I was-
jams.
because we're at home in our in our own space.
Yeah,
And
we're
we weren't
less...
up until 6 a.m.
That too. We also were not up until 6 a.m.
Shouldn't that technically make us less loopy though?
I'm not
no,
sleep deprived.
not for ADHD.
No, this is just me.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Oh man. Versus me, I was up until like 3 a.m. yesterday. I was like, oh, or I guess I should say this morning, but oh
Yeah,
well.
I think I was
Anyways,
up till
so
1 or 2.
Yeah,
Might
I
have
was
been
up till
2.
2.
Yeah, because I was watching a show. So
I was
Yeah.
reading.
I know. I
And
was
then-
busy getting my heart broken last night.
and then my heart broke. Even after
Yeah.
she told me your heart's gonna break, and then I still watched it, and then my heart broke.
Yeah, I needed her to share in the heartbreak with me with that show.
It was bad.
We keep pushing that off to you, Bailey. I'm so sorry. We keep
I
pushing our
know.
heartbreaks off
I
on you.
know. First Iron
Here,
Flame,
read this book. You're
And
gonna
then-
love it.
and then my demon. Like I'm just over here with a broken heart.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so anyways, so other self-care things that we enjoy doing. I would say I probably love my morning and bedtime routines. Mostly because more like as somebody that deals with depression, mornings are the most challenging part of my day. And as I mentioned in previous episodes, I don't take medication for my depression. And that's just a personal choice. Like I don't find anything wrong with that. I will repeat that for the sake of this episode. But my biggest thing about my depression is it makes it so difficult for me to want to get on with my day. And I could have the best day like the day before, but the very next morning, it immediately hits me first thing the second I open my eyes. And I'm just like, why do I have to get out of bed today? And so, one of my biggest therapy techniques that I learned, and this was very young when I first started dealing with my depression, was me giving myself the reason to get out of bed. And it's a little win. It has to be a little win. It can't just be as much as Astarian is a very good reason to get out of bed.
He is though.
Maybe depending on the context.
We're saying.
I'm
But-
just saying, when I'm at your
I
house
was gonna
and I wake
say.
up to Astarian, I am a very happy person.
Yes, I know that. And it was so funny because you and Rebecca at first were like, oh, I don't know if I could wake up to that, but you finally woke up to it, and it is the best thing to wake up to.
I
So,
woke up
yes.
like immediately, and then I just smiled. I was like,
Yeah, it's a
See, I don't know
very
because
happy
Mark can
morning.
make me
ringtone.
violently angry, and I'm afraid that his voice will start to make me angry if it's the thing that wakes me up.
Trust me,
Ugh.
I am not a morning person by any means, and like the the way that ringtone was designed was literally to deal with people like me, where I am willing to commit grave acts of sin if you try to wake me up in the morning. Like I will
Me too.
murder somebody. So-
Especially if you wake me up before my alarm goes off, I'm gonna be real mad.
oh yeah, there are threats of murder and just violence if you try to wake me up in the morning.
Yep.
Because here's my thing. Like, it is so difficult for me to go to sleep. And the problem with me is that once you wake me up, I'm up. And so it's like there is no going back to sleep for me. And so like my husband, you could wake him up and he half the time he doesn't even know he's been woken up and he'll just go right back to sleep.
Mhm.
With me, it's that entire process of getting me back to sleep all over again. And so for me in general, it's once I'm up, I'm up. And if you wake
Same.
me up before the time I have to get up, oh, there are a lot of violent things coming out of my mouth.
Oh yeah.
Which funny kind of side trail for that is I realize like men have a much easier time waking up in the mornings, and it's just a hormonal
Yes!
thing. And
Ugh.
then paired with like ADHD, so when you have ADHD, you have a hard time regulating from being asleep to suddenly being awake. So often people with ADHD will just sit there for a good 20 minutes on the edge of the bed,
Me
just like
Yep.
this.
every morning.
And
Yep.
it is because it is so hard for us to make that switch from being
Mhm.
asleep to being awake. So
Mhm.
mornings
Yes.
just suck.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, and depression works exactly the same way. Like it's one of those things where I have to mentally give myself a reason to get out of bed. So one of the things I started doing is, as we've been talking about, my Astarian alarm. People have actually made a like audio clipping of clips from things Astarian says in the game and basically edit it to be an alarm where he's telling you to get up and he's encouraging you to wake up and get out of bed and granted some of the parts of the clip are actually really hilarious because he's like, you're not dying, he's like, get up.
Yeah.
It's just like but
he
it's
also
very
calls you
encouraging.
beautiful, so
yes and
I
then
need to send you one that someone from Discord sent me. I cannot play it here over
All right.
this stream, but I will
That's
send
fine.
it to you. I was dying.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
dying.
I'll
It's so
remind you
good.
later because
that
Yes,
that
please.
might actually become a new alarm for me if it'll get me to crack up in the morning. But
It's so funny.
on that note of waking up though, so I that's the first thing I hear in the morning is like, hello darling, it's time to wake up. Like it's literally like what he says. And then so at that point I'm already in a good mood because I'm hearing the voice of my favorite character from this video game and I'm just like, oh okay. I was like, yeah, I'm up, what am I doing now? And
I was very
so-
surprised. It's very nice to wake up to.
yes, it is very nice to wake up to. Like and it's very encouraging. Like I've seen funny clips on TikTok too where people have like been where they've made jokes of like, oh, they're setting their alarms to be applauses, so when you wake up people are clapping for you for getting up from your day. Like I mean and as
That would
silly
piss
as
me
it
off.
sounds, yeah, I know, right?
Like,
But-
I don't need your pity.
Exactly.
Don't
Go
me.
away.
Yeah.
I don't need an
But
audience.
As silly as that sounds though, it is one of like the most encouraging ways to wake up is literally setting your alarm. And then there are some people which I don't know how they do it. They don't wake up with an alarm at all. They just wake up same time every day on the clock and you're just like,
I've
What
been
kind of
doing
I
that
would start
lately.
waking up at like 4 a.m. Like, am I late? No. Am
I've
I
been,
late?
I
No.
would say I've been
Yeah.
doing that lately, and I don't know what it is, but it's been between 6 and 6:30 every single morning. I just wake
Mm-mm.
up and I look at my clock and I'm
Nope.
like, no, and then I go back to sleep.
Yeah,
But I don't know what it
absolutely
is.
not.
I don't know
No,
what it is.
I'll wake
I
up and I'll
keep
be like,
waking up.
I don't need eyebrows today. I'm going back to bed.
Exactly.
That is a very drastic comparison of the things that you need versus things I need in the morning.
I mean, I don't do my makeup half the time, so
No, if you
I
see me
don't-
without eyebrows, I'm struggling.
That's fair. I roll out of
But
bed,
it-
brush my hair, brush my teeth, splash some
So,
water
in
on
all
my
honesty,
face,
though,
out the door.
with that alarm, that is the first thing that like starts off my day in a very positive way. And I'll be honest with you, like even doing something as simple as changing your alarm in the morning to something that will bring you happiness unless you're Red Rebecca over here. Um, it really does change like your mindset the second that you wake up, and it winds up giving you something positive to start the very second your mind shifts over into waking. And so I've noticed that with me, ever since I've started setting those alarms, I'm immediately already in a better mood. Then to add to that, I have vanity lights that are actually set on a timer. And so in that same junction, when my Astarion alarm goes off, I have my vanity lights now set to wake up with a dawn sunrise setting. So then it gives me the feeling of like I was like camping out in the woods with Astarion. And then it's just like, and I create this like weird mental just storyline persona in my head in terms of just a happy place. Like that's really what I do. And then after that, once I kind of bring myself into like full reality of like, okay, I have to get up out of bed, I give myself one task to do as soon as I wake up. And that task is something as simple as turn on the electric kettle, brush my teeth, put in my contacts. That is it. Everything else follows after that. I don't like if it's putting in my contacts, I don't worry about having to do my makeup or my hair or get dressed. It is put in my contacts. As long as I do that one task, I officially have my win for the day. And so that has been a very good driving factor because I need it to be simple. Like if I wind up telling myself, oh my gosh, I have to put in my contacts and then I have to do my hair and then I have to do my makeup and then I have to brush my teeth and then I have to get dressed, it becomes overwhelming immediately first thing in the morning. And I just suddenly feel like my day's already gone because I'm super busy.
Yeah.
So as soon as like the dawn setting happens on my vanity lights and then my Astarion alarm goes off, I immediately start deciding what is my simple task for today. And whatever that simple task is, that is the only thing I focus on. And when you tell yourself that that's the only thing that you have to do, there's a different mindset in terms of how much more willing you are to get up out of bed. And so for me, as soon as I say, okay, I'm just going to turn on the electric kettle, that is it. That is all I do. I go, I walk into the kitchen, and then if my electric kettle is empty, it doesn't register in my head that, oh my gosh, now I need to put water in it and stuff like that. It literally
would
is
for
just
me. I'd
go.
be like, nah,
Yeah,
we're good.
but it literally is just go and turn on the electric kettle. To me, that is that simple. And now I know with you guys with ADHD, you guys break it down into all of the sub steps in between that. So the way that it would work for you guys is you pick the most simple sub step. That is literally how you guys
One
get to
foot
do
in
that
front
with
of
that.
the other.
Yeah.
Exactly. You pick the most simple sub step. So for you, if the most simple sub step was grab the electric kettle, that is your only goal for that morning as soon as you guys get out of bed. And so that's the way that that's been working in my brain. And it has been one of my biggest self-care routines is to just figure out that first thing. Now, in terms of nighttime's a completely different kind of self-care routine. It has to be personal for myself. So whatever I do in order to end my day, which has been my skincare routine lately, it is to do it for myself. And so it can't be for household because like my morning routine could be like, oh, I'm just going to focus on getting the kids ready. I'm going to make sure that I get out the door. You know, it can be anything just as long as it's simple. But my end of the day has to be for me. It has to affect me and me alone. And it changes your complete mindset. It winds up giving you a better peace of mind. And the only thing that I have to work on with that right now in terms of self-care is I have to start going to bed on a regular schedule. I have been horrible at doing that.
I think we
It's
all
been
have
very
recently.
Same.
Actually, no. Rebecca actually has a very good, and she doesn't always fall asleep because obviously she's like texting us, but she's very good.
She's over here like, no.
Yeah. No. But she's very good at cutting herself off at a certain time.
Yeah.
Like, because whenever I'm playing video games with her, she's like, I have until 10:30. And she's adamant about that. She's actually got a very good routine. You should go into yours because
Oh God. Okay. So, well, it's actually gotten a lot worse recently because my husband has been moved to night shift. So it's hard for me to be asleep before he leaves, and he doesn't leave till like 11 p.m. But I will try to be in bed. But I won't be sitting on my computer, but I will be in bed, and I can be like on TikTok, texting people, reading things. Um,
Things.
but but I do try to be winding down at least so when that point comes where I just can't keep my eyes open anymore, all I have to do is roll over and fall asleep. But
Hmm.
I try to have my skincare done. I try to just have all my ducks in a row because nighttime is when I function best.
Same.
Mornings, forget it.
Yeah.
Nighttime
I
is when I function
function.
best.
Yeah.
So
Give
I have
me.
to tell myself, sorry, go on.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say
Uh,
I just function really good at like 4 p.m. to midnight.
yes,
Those are
4
my
p.m. on.
hours. Yeah.
That is when I thrive. So
Yep.
that's when I have to get all my busy stuff done. So I try not to put as much pressure on myself in the mornings because I know I'm just going to make myself miserable. I have to
Yeah.
work with what works for me. So the mornings I give myself a little bit more grace. I am a hot mess in the mornings. I've realized I can't prepare like I can't prepare breakfast in the mornings. I never eat before I
No.
leave to go to work. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take a bag of pretzels with me and that is what I will snack on until lunch because sitting down and having a breakfast, sure, I might think that's a great idea at 10 p.m., but then when 6 a.m. rolls around, forget it. I'm not doing it.
Yep.
The only time
So,
Yep.
I the only time I make breakfast is on the days that I'm working at home because I don't have to like leave the house. So I have
yeah.
time to make breakfast. But if I'm leaving the house, I'm not making breakfast. That's not happening. Half the time
Yeah,
I
I
don't
like
eat breakfast.
I will do my coffee. Like I cannot get by without my coffee. So I
Yeah,
will stroll into work with my iced coffee and a bag of pretzels. And that
that's
is
fair.
my morning thing. But I mean, usually my eyebrows are done. So at least I got that going for me.
If your eyebrows are done, we're gonna have a good day.
It's gonna be a good day. I got my headphones charged, I got my eyebrows on. We're good.
Yeah, my mornings are very similar. I definitely have to allow myself extra time to go from sleeping to being awake. I will
Staring
sit
into the void. We need our
on the
void
edge of
time.
my bed and just sit there. Or I
Hmm.
mean, there's times like I'll go into the bathroom to brush my teeth and brush my hair, all that good stuff. And I will stand there just staring in the mirror for 20 minutes doing absolutely nothing, just standing there
Right, and like you're not
staring.
even staring at yourself. You're
No, just staring
just your
at the
eyes are
mirror.
having to sit down is what it is.
It's it's a whole thing. I don't understand it. Um but yeah, my
Just
biggest
having a chat with Bloody Mary, you know.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Don't turn the light off.
No.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
the first thought I have when I wake up in the mornings and like I have to get out of bed, um, you, Adela, choose a very simple task. Um,
Hmm.
I sit there or lay there technically and try to decide which side of the bed I'm going to get out of. That's every morning.
That's right,
But
because
see,
one way is going to be more convenient than the other.
Exactly. So I have to weigh all the options. Do I go this way or do I go this way?
Right, like
but
do I want
see,
to roll this way?
that is your simple task. Like it's still the method. It's still your simple task, and your simple task, granted, doesn't make sense to me, but it makes sense to you.
Yeah.
And it's still your simple task. It's you deciding, okay, am I going to go that way? Am I going to go that way or that way? And literally, it's still a simple task for you.
Yeah.
That's it. So that method still works. You just do it in a different way. And for you, it's routine based. So
Yeah, that's true.
me, it changes every morning depending on my mood.
I have to have some sort of routine in the morning. Otherwise I just can't function. So
No,
it's not
it's bad, and I can easily fall into the habit of okay, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna scroll TikTok for 5 minutes. Oh, it's been 6 minutes. Might as well make it 10. Oh, it's been
oh, it's
11
been
minutes.
11
Might
minutes,
as well
might as
make
well
it
make it
15.
15. That's me.
Oh my
We
gosh.
deserve
Yep.
a Trito.
I'm gonna let
That
myself scroll through TikTok or whatever for just a couple minutes while I wake up this morning. And next thing I know, it's been 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and then I'm like, I gotta rush out of the house.
You're like, oh no. Again? Rebecca, you never learn. You silly goose.
Yeah, see
Mhm.
that for me in terms of anxiety would never allow me to happen because part of the biggest things of self-care with me is literally knowing my schedule and times of where I'm going to be. Like my anxiety and you guys have seen this with me when we're driving. I already know where I'm going. I will
Mhm.
still input the directions on the GPS because I just want to know the time that I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with needing the directions. It's just knowing the time that I'm going to get there. And it's a big self like obviously I've been working at the same place for the last 5 years. I clearly know how to get there, but I still input my directions to work every single morning because it's just part of the way that I keep myself in check throughout the day. It's one of my easiest self-care things that I do is just tell myself when the heck I'm going to get to work. Like otherwise my mind is racing because then I'm like thinking, "Oh my gosh, do I have all these meetings today? Am I going to get there in time for me?" Of course I'm going to get there in time for my meetings. I'm getting to work at 7:30. Like what? Yeah. It's just like, yeah, it just makes me feel better for some reason. And you guys know too that when we all go places, I have to be the one to drive because
Yes.
I cannot be in the passenger seat when it comes to a place I have never been to before. I have to be the one driving.
I'm a
And it
passenger princess through
absolutely,
and
I
through.
would
yeah,
say we're
which
both
is why
passenger
our friendship,
princesses
yeah,
anyway, so it's perfectly
it's
fine.
why our friendship works out because both of them are just like, "Oh, you want to drive? Go right ahead. Which vehicle do you want to drive?" Like,
Yeah,
Are we
like
taking yours, mine, or hers? I don't care.
yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
not driving.
I just get
just
to
put the
pick which
keys in
vehicle I
here.
get to drive. It's just yeah. But in all honesty, like there are so many different ways to like give yourself mini self-care things. And so work, let's talk about work. So obviously throughout work, your day is going to get super stressful. And for me, it's so difficult and Bugby experienced this the one day that she went to work with me.
It was pretty crazy.
Um I don't see the inside of my office most days. And she
Nope.
got a glimpse of what my life is like. Like I would literally go back into my office and then immediately I would have to turn right back around and go somewhere else.
Yep.
And it it is such a busy schedule that half the time I don't even stop and think, "Oh my gosh, it's lunchtime." Like my coworker is so fantastic at that. If she doesn't see me at 11 o'clock every day, because I am a creature of habit, I eat a lunch at 11 every day unless I get put into a meeting. That if I'm not in a meeting and I'm not in her office, it means I forgot to eat. And she is in my office going, "Hey, food." And I go,
Lunchtime. Let's
oh my
go.
gosh. And then yeah. And she will be the person to remind me I need to eat. And I'm telling you right now, that is such an important part of your day.
Oh
As
yeah.
much as you think that it's like, oh, whatever, I can skip lunch. No, you need to eat. It is a very simple self care routine. Your brain cannot function without the sustenance that you need in order to keep going. And so, whether that's a snack, whether that's just a light meal, whether you want a full course full 3 course dining experience, you need to eat. It is it is super important that you wind up doing that for yourself because that is a moment of self-care. And if you want to eat while you're working, then eat while you're working, but either
Keeps me
way,
awake.
it keeps you awake. That is the thing about it, is that your body gets sluggish. And here's the other thing, is that if you overeat, your body is going to get sluggish. So
Oh yeah.
you need to get rid of the food guilt. That is my biggest thing. And you guys have seen this with me, Bugby and Rebecca. If I'm full, I'm full. I am done eating. I will push my plate aside and I am done eating. I do not force myself to finish that plate because if I overeat, I become sluggish and then I can't function. So for me, that is a very big part of self-care throughout my day at work, because if I wind up overeating and then I'm sluggish, my day's gone and I can't function at work, and I need to be able to function at my best capacity when it comes to my job. And so on top of that, I have a little tea station in my office that when I need a moment to just sit and breathe, because technically you should be taking your 2 15-minute breaks. If you're not doing that, I'm encouraging you right now to change that habit. You don't have to take the full 15, but step away and give yourself time to breathe. And so, what I do in one of those scenarios is that if I have just had a super overwhelming day and it's just been back to back meetings, I will take a moment, and there's a favorite chair that I have in my office. I will make myself a little cup of tea from my tea station in my office, and I will just sit in my favorite chair and I will just drink my tea. That is it. That is all I do. And it is one of the most easiest breathing things that I do on my day to day. And it helps my day at work move so much quicker. So whatever it is that you do, whether that's take a walk or step outside or and just get some fresh air, take those 15-minute breaks. You will be surprised how much little self-care things like that affect your day. Um, with that being the case, how do you two girls handle that? Because obviously for anxiety and depression, it's very different, but
Mhm.
how does that function with you guys for ADHD?
My biggest thing is trying to switch into work focus because once you find yourself in a hyper focus, it's hard to break yourself out. But I've been struggling with getting into that hyper focus. And I actually have a friend who struggles with the same thing. So whenever we're working at the same time, we've hopped on Discord calls together. We won't talk, we mute our microphones, but we set lo-fi music and a timer and we're productive at the same time together.
That's a good
And
idea.
that has really really helped me like the past couple times or past couple weeks that we've done it. So that has been really, really nice. Um, but then on the flip side, sometimes when you are focused so hard, you forget things like going to the bathroom, drinking
Yeah,
water, and
that's
going
me.
to eat.
Hmm.
hmm So, honestly, for people with ADHD, timers. I don't have a schedule to look at. I'll just be like, okay, I'm going to create this playlist and I just have to be productive. And once the playlist is done, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna get something to drink, gonna get something to eat, gonna go to the bathroom, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do it all over again. And that's kind of
I need to
what I do.
implement that cuz
Yeah, because I don't do well with clock watching because again, like we've said, oh, it's was 6 minutes when I said five, it's gonna be 10 now. I'm
yeah.
really bad about that. I have to set a strict timer
Yeah.
on my phone rather than okay, at this time I'm doing this, at this time I'm doing this, at this time I'm doing this. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to try something along those lines and see if it helps me because I've been struggling to get into the hyper focus for work also. This last week was much better. I don't know why, but it was better. I'm thankful for that. But before, it has been very, very difficult for me to get into that focus at work. But once I get into it, I I can't get out of it. Um,
hmm
like with Thursday this last week, me and my coworkers went out for lunch, and I was so busy all morning because we had 2 snow days. So I was off 2 days because I was home with my daughter, and then
hmm
yeah, so I was playing catch up on Thursday, and when we were going out for lunch, so I was super busy all morning, like swamped trying to get everything caught up, going through emails. It was a mess. I was so focused though because I knew it was like that coal crunch time. You push out your best work
Yeah.
at the end, that's basically what
Yes,
it
at the end of
was.
the day.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. Because I
Deadline.
was doing I was doing 3 days of work in one day.
hmm
uh so we went and had our lunch. We came back to the office. It was around 1 o'clock, and we're walking in, and I go, "Yeah, I gotta go to the bathroom." And I'm like, now that I think of it, I haven't done that since I left the house this morning.
Yeah, sometimes
So,
I'll get to work and I'm like, I haven't gone all day. I need to do that.
yeah, yeah. So I made myself go, um, and then yeah, I don't think I went at all that afternoon either until I got home. So, which isn't like
Gotta love
super abnormal
ADHD.
for me, but yeah, it's a mess. But as far as what I do self-care wise at work, I have to listen to music. I can't work
Yes.
without listening to music. Preferably earbuds in so I can really drown out anything that's going on around me.
Hmm.
That is a big one for me. If I cannot listen to music, I am going to struggle very hard. Um, Other than that, I take my breaks, my morning break, my afternoon break. I always take those. Um, I don't always do the same thing, but I try to go outside to my truck essentially and sit in
Hmm.
peace and quiet and just be with myself, texting
Hmm.
somebody, reading.
Disassociate.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I just sit there and stare out the window. It just
Hmm.
depends on the day and what mood I'm in.
We love
Here
our void
lately,
staring.
yeah, here lately, this last week, I did not go out to my truck for breaks because it's been so cold. I'm like, nope.
Not worth it.
I did for one break because I recorded a whole video thing for podcast stuff, and I was sitting in my truck without the heater on so people could hear me, and I was like, okay, bye, and then I went back inside. But yeah, so I always take my breaks. And then a big one for me here recently, I have started taking hour-long lunch breaks. I used to always just take 30 minutes. And a lot of times in that 30 minutes, I would just be coming home, letting my dog out, grabbing something that I'm going to eat, and then taking it back to the office and eating it while I'm working. So I've tried really hard to give myself the full hour when I can, which I most of the time make
Hmm.
sure that I can in my schedule. My schedule is pretty flexible.
Hmm.
So I now come home and let the dog out and eat. I sit down and I eat before I go
Good.
back. So
Good.
that has been helpful for me, just giving myself the time to be me rather than just
Take taking the mask off.
yeah. Not that I have much of a mask at work. It's just busy. That's the thing right now. It is very, very
Hmm.
busy. So it gets hectic, and then I am a people pleaser as well, so I'm just trying to keep everybody
Yes.
happy and get everything done as best I can. And hey, can you do this
And
also? Absolutely.
I
Meanwhile, I'm
have a question
drowning.
for you.
Okay,
Because it's
go.
something, because when Adela was talking about like being places on time, I've noticed, and a lot of my other friends with ADHD, we've noticed the same thing. When it's just us, I don't care about, if I set a schedule for myself, I don't feel beholden to that schedule if it's just me.
Hmm.
But if I make that schedule with other people, I freak out if I'm
Yeah,
not on that schedule because I have to appear productive and I have to appear like I have all my stuff together. And they've said that is a huge thing with ADHD and masking is you have to feel like you have everything together.
yeah,
So if people are watching me work, I am like on it. I am productive. But if I'm just given like a hey, you need this done by this time, I will be just like this until maybe like an
hmm,
hour before the deadline and then I pump out my best work ever. And if
yeah,
someone was watching me do that, I'd be so scared that they would see this lazy individual. So I have to put on the ADHD mask and I have to
yeah.
be a normal functioning human being. So being around people all day and having to be like, "No, I am a normal member of society.
I'm
I
pretty
am
sure
with it."
I'm pretty sure all my coworkers know I am not a normal member of society.
See, I'm
You've
not
made that
quite
known.
there with my coworkers yet. So it's just like, I have to put that facade on. And so then as
Yeah,
soon as I get home, I'm like, oh, thank God.
yeah.
Now I'm going to go stand in a mirror and Emily and Bloody Mary are going to duke it out.
Marco will join you.
Versus Vincent's over here just in my ear. Hey, now you have more work to do, and I'm just and me and Vincent are arguing, going, "Will you shut up?" Yeah, you
Uh,
guys are over there fighting, and then I'm over here arguing with Vincent. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
We're just over
but
there with the popcorn, like, hey, who do you think's going
Yeah.
to win?
yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
I
don't know.
get
Some days it's Vincent, some days it's me.
but yeah, I get what you're saying, Rebecca, because you know, your job is kind of newer to you. You don't have
Mhm.
maybe the closer relationship like what I have with my coworkers.
Hmm.
I honestly consider them friends, not coworkers.
Yeah.
Um most of them. There are some that are, of course, coworkers, but there is a group of us that are very close, and I am very thankful for those ladies. And um, they have always accepted me for whatever I am. Um, so if I'm sitting in my cube, completely disassociating, staring at the computer screen, doing absolutely nothing, they're just like, "You good? Yeah, I'm good. Okay." And then they're
That's
like,
right.
"She
We'll leave you
good."
to it.
And I tell them too, I always, if I'm having a particularly, I'm struggling with that word again today. If I
I understand what you meant. The particularly.
the the particularly
Though particularly.
the not the particularly.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you're calling us Granny. You're going back to Renaissance as of right now.
Thee. Thee and thou.
I'm gonna just call you Withers.
Oh, I don't want to be
No.
Withers.
No, Rebecca, because she's
Oh.
thee and thy.
Just
But
thou
anyway,
have need of me.
Yeah, see? Yeah,
but
I'm just
anyway,
gonna call her Withers.
if I'm having a particularly hard day, and I know that going into my day, I will just shoot all of them a message ahead of time and just be like, "Hey, I'm struggling today. I don't know why. Everything's fine. Just if I'm extra quiet or not as social or anything like that, I just, you know, I want you guys to know it's nothing to do with you guys. I'm just struggling today." So I'm always very open and honest with them about all of that, and they've always received that uh, and been
And
very
that and
supportive of it. So,
and you kind of brought up a good point right there, is that being very open and honest about your self-care is a
hmm
very big part of it. So me as a mom, and obviously the three of us all are all moms. Like
We're
this is
mothers.
one point, yeah. This is one point we haven't touched up on yet, is how to self-care with children. And that to
after they go to
me is
bed.
a yes, yeah, very much so. But that's not the only thing about it. So, my husband and I have kind of come up with a very interesting routine lately. And it was actually surprisingly advice that I saw just on one of my social media reels. I can't even remember which platform it was on. But what the person was saying was to also be able to rely on your partner for your self-care. So if I come home from work and I'm just mentally done because of the back-to-back meetings and high stress and things like that, there are days where my husband will look at me and the first question out of his mouth is, how was your day? And when he asks that question, it's not the typical, oh, it's fine, busy. It's he's asking that so he knows where my mental status is at. And when I tell him I'm done, like I can't make a single decision right now, he will figure it out. And I rely on him to do it. And that has to go both ways. So I ask him too, well, where are you at today? And he will be like, I'm actually okay. Like my day was stupid, but I'm okay. But then on days where he's not and I'm doing better that day, I'm the one that picks up the slack, and I will basically carry the weight for both of us. And that was my biggest thing about this, is that people a lot of the time say marriage is 50-50. It is never actually 50-50.
Not
It is
consistently, anyways.
it is not
Yeah.
consistently 50-50. Yes, and that is a big thing that people really need to understand, is that as a partner, as a spouse, it is also your job to sometimes carry their weights. And with me dealing with mental health, my husband tends to carry a lot of weight. And so on days when he is just like, I can't carry this load today, I'm the one that has to take it over. And so we have worked out a very good system that if I am just mentally checked out, which in all honesty, I have been a lot, he is the one kind of taking care of the kids, wrangling them at night, finding ways that we can still all spend time together while still entertaining them, which when you have a 2-year-old, that is a challenging feat. Um, and he gives me that time to just unwind. So one of the biggest key things that has helped with my self-care is that sometimes I just need an hour to unwind after as soon as I get home from work. So he will take the kids and he will come up here to our office and he will just he will just have them sit here on tablets or switches or computer, and he will entertain them up here to give me time downstairs in the living room where that is kind of my quiet place, and he will just let me unwind. Once I'm ready to like get into mom mode at that point, I literally will go upstairs and go get all of them and just be like, "Hey, okay, I'm good." And we will go from there. And then of course, after the kids go to bed, that is additional self-care time. But the dangerous trap that I've fallen into with this is when I start doing something at the end of the day that makes me really happy, I have a hard time getting myself to stop. And so before I know it, I am up until 2 a.m. because I can't convince myself to go to bed, because then I have to wake up and do it all over again. And
Try
that's the
setting a
biggest
timer.
part. That so it's funny that you had mentioned that, because when you said that, I was like, I wonder if that would work for me, because I don't have ADHD. At least I don't think I do.
You
And
don't.
yeah, I was like, we went through that checklist. I don't.
We're also
Um,
not professionals.
Yeah.
yes, we are not. We are not professionals. I am just going off of my personal self-diagnosis, things I've worked out within therapy. And I'm just giving advice based off of what has worked for me. So take that advice and do it what you will. So full disclaimer on that. But the biggest thing is that even with a timer. So it's funny that you guys have mentioned, oh, yeah, when you look at the clock and you're like, oh, I'm giving myself 10 minutes. And then it's like, well, it's been 11 minutes now. I have found myself falling into that trap lately where I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to start getting ready at 1 o'clock. And then I see it's like 1:05. I'm like, whatever, I'm going to start getting ready at 1:30. And
Mhm.
I've fallen into that trap. But what happened with me was that it's not ADHD, it's my mental level of stress. And according to the things that I've talked about with my therapist recently, my mind is so overwhelmed, so overworked, and processing so many things at such a high level, fast pace, that it is trying to warn me that I am overwhelming myself. And so what it's doing is it is slowing my process down. So I had wound up experiencing the very thing that you guys mentioned, where you break it out into every single sub step along the way. And the first time that happened to me, I freaked out because I was like, what? How did my day get so busy? I was like, what do you mean I have to do 15 steps to write an email? Like, my brain couldn't handle it. Like, I legitimately felt broken. And then so what my therapist and I realized was that my brain is trying to figure out what's a priority. And for me, everything's a priority. And so I get anxiety ridden about all the things that I have to take care of, and it winds up causing my brain to get overwhelmed. So what it does is it broke it down into the mini sub steps, which is very relatable to ADHD, because it then needed to filter out what was the actual priority. And so by my brain doing that, I realized, okay, I obviously don't need to do that, but this definitely has to be done. And so that's how my mind processed what were my next steps. And so with me, when it comes to doing something happy, because I rarely have the time to do something that I truly enjoy, like playing a video game or watching a TV show or something like that, I have a hard time convincing myself to stop, because then I have to wake up and then I have to go back to my busy life. I have to leave the realm of happiness is really
Mhm.
my biggest challenge. And so at that point, I wind up, before I know it, oh my gosh, it's 2 in the morning and I'm still reading. I need to go to bed. Like it, and then all of a sudden I'm just like, well, I can function on 4 hours of sleep. I can function on two. I'll
No, we
just stay
can't.
up all night. Like, and yeah, and you physically can't. And so, but I trick myself into thinking that just so I can stay in my happy place because that's my depression kicking in. And so lately what I've been doing is I've been trying to figure out a time, and like I said at the beginning of this episode, I'm trying to figure out a good nighttime routine that involves me going to bed at a certain time. And I admire Rebecca for this one because she knows when to get off, and she's considered, okay, this is the time I'm getting off my computer, even if we're in the middle of a video game. And she knows when to cut herself off. Versus me, I'm like, no, I'm still going to keep playing even after you get off the computer. Like, and that's the part that I struggle with. So I need to learn that. And I am actually going to try the timer method after you mentioned it today and see if that helps with that, or if it just winds up giving me anxiety because I know my time's running out. So we'll see
Yeah.
how it works for me, and I will let everybody know the next time that we talk on this podcast, because I want to actually see if it will help, because that's my biggest struggle in terms of going to bed on
Yeah.
time. But other than that, like self-care routine wise, like before bed, as long as I do my facial like skincare routine, oh, I'm golden. I can relax, I can lay in bed, but I just have to get myself to that point that I do the skincare routine, because I know in my head that as soon as I start doing my skincare routine, it's bedtime. And I have to break
Yeah.
myself out of happy place. So that's definitely been the biggest struggle for me.
I
But
feel like
it is
a boss when I get my skincare done.
Yeah, I
yup.
I have tried to be super consistent with my skincare. It's definitely better than it has been in the past. Um, but now it'll be like 9 o'clock or something, and I'm gonna do my skincare routine so I don't have to get up later. and then and
Yep.
then I'll lay in bed or sit on the couch in whatever happy place I'm in at the moment, and until far too late, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
So
I gotta go to bed now.
Books has been my big thing. Books.
Yeah.
let's
I have such a hard time putting them down.
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about self-care in terms of men, because I like, obviously we're very relatable to women, but let's talk
Mhm.
about men. So with my husband, I had actually asked him this before we started recording because I wanted male perspective on this. And I was like, "Hey, what do you do in terms of self-care?" And he actually sat there and looked at me and was like, I don't know. And he goes, we're very different when it comes to the way that we think and we process, which is very true. Like men and women do think about things very differently. And he told me, he goes, with him, his self-care is literally getting to play a video game. That is it.
Yeah,
Like he
that's
is a,
Casey's.
yeah, he is a very simple creature. And for him, it's, as long as he gets time to play video games, he doesn't care what length of time. It just, he instantly feels better. And it's like, it's so funny because he tells me that, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, really? That's it? That's all you have to do is just play a video game? Like, and it's funny because I can relate, obviously, because I'm a very big video game person myself, but there's more to it than that for me. Like I have to latch on to something in that video game. Like i.e. Baldur's Gate, I'm latched onto Astarion. Like Destiny 2, I just loved my hunter and the way that she looked. And it and then like RPGs that I play, it's all about the storyline for me. And I have to latch onto something deeper that gives me that happy place. With him, it's like, nah, I'll just shoot things and I'm good. And I'm like, okay. Like it's such a simple thing for them. And I've noticed that surprisingly enough, men are actually a lot better at self-care because their self-care is so much more simple when it comes to things. It's actually quite impressive when you actually look at the research for it. Men are actually more on self-care because they don't actually think about it. They just do it. Like some men, they'll go to sports games. Others will go play a sport like with friends, or they will go to a bar, or they will just go out, or they'll work on their car, or it is literally a lot more simple for men to just do self-care routines. And the funny part is that whatever it is that they choose to do, they feel better. They feel a sense of accomplishment. They feel like they got something done in their day. And it doesn't make sense to us as the wives or girlfriends or fiancés. It it is literally so simple for them. And I'm not saying that to like undermine men in terms of just how easy it is for them, because it's not. They also have to figure out a schedule that works with their families and their partners and their routines. But their ability to take care of themselves is beyond amazing. Like it really is when you actually take a step back and look at it. Versus women, we put so much pressure on ourselves that we have to be the caretaker and the person that handles everything in the household, that it makes it so much more difficult for us to step back and take care of ourselves. And that is the biggest thing about being a mom with kids, is that my kids always come first. And it's funny because we did a survey at work just for fun, where we asked, if the choice came down to your children or your spouse, who are you picking? And of course, my answer is my children. I'm like, sorry, my children will always come first. And I realized, and I've said this before in our very first episode, you cannot fill on an empty cup. And the thing that I am training myself to do as a mother, and it is very, very difficult, I'm not saying that this is a walk in park by any means, is learning to put myself first in terms of making sure I am okay. Because then it reflects onto my children. And when I say it reflects, they can sense that mommy's not all there. And so for me, my biggest thing is making sure I have the energy to give them what they deserve. I've said that before. And as a mom, that is the best way that we can take care of our families. It is the biggest thing that I can emphasize, because when you take care of yourself, everything else falls in line. And Bugby actually had mentioned that when she was going through a career change, is I remember you telling me back then, you would come home from work and you were so stressed out, and with the situation that you were in, you were starting to realize how much shorter of a fuse you were having with your daughter. Like your
Yeah.
patience for the things she
Yeah.
wanted to do were getting shorter and shorter. And it was all because you had nothing left to give.
Exactly.
And yeah, and that's such an important part about moms, is a lot of the households, we run the schedule, we run the appointments, we run the household chores, we run the maintenance in terms of knowing what needs to be maintained. We take care of the kids, we do their medicine rotations, we figure out what's going on with their schooling, we do the budgets, we do the finances. Like it's just so much on moms. And it's the typical stereotype of a mom in a household. And I'm not saying that that's what you have to be. Like, if your household doesn't work that way, awesome. I'm super happy for you. You and your partner have figured it out, which is great. But there is that stereotype of the mom kind of handles everything, which is where the joke comes from. Kids 20 times a day, where's mom? Where's mom? Where's mom? And then it's like, hey, dad, the one question I have for you, where's mom? Like, it's just, um, and it's just that pressure that we put on ourselves as mothers, and because we are the natural caretakers of things, that is literally written in our biology. So in terms of self-care for moms, figure out time for yourself, and it could be once a week, it could be an hour after work every day, but work it out with your partner. I cannot emphasize that enough, because it is so important that both you and your partner get that time to wind and or unwind and fill that cup back up. And if honestly, if it wasn't for my husband most days, I would be yeah, it's just it gets very difficult, and it's hard to put that emphasis on yourself as a mother. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. My biggest thing that I do with my kid, because I grew up in a household where I very much felt responsibility for the way that my parents were feeling. So, one thing that I have to clear with my kid is, hey, I've had a hard day. It is not your fault. It is nothing you did. I need to step aside for a second and get some quiet time. It is nothing you did. You did not make me upset. I just need quiet time because I don't want her to feel the burden of like, oh my gosh, I need to walk on eggshells around mom and
Yep.
I need to be quiet and I don't want to make her mad. Like, no. I am not putting that on her shoulders at all. So I'm very open with her. Like, hey, it's just been a rough day and I need some time. But we will have some family time here in a second. I just need time to relax and it's not your fault in the slightest.
Yeah,
Yep.
I do the same thing with my daughter too. Um, uh, I will just tell her, "Mommy is burnt out. Mommy needs a minute." She'll always want me to play with her and do things and this and that and the other
Mhm.
thing, which I love doing those things with her. But when I
Right.
just don't, I can't. I don't have the energy to do it. I will always tell her, let's watch a TV show or something like that. And then when that TV show is over, we can play whatever she's wanting to play. And then that
Mhm.
usually will give me 20 to 30 minutes because I'm not paying attention to her TV show, let's be honest.
No. Yeah, no.
But
Yeah.
but that gives me 20 to 30 minutes to just chill and relax because often this
Mhm.
happens as soon as we get home for the day and I'm still trying to come out of work mode and come into mom mode and still trying to figure out what we're having for dinner and this that and the other thing. And yeah, so I'll just tell her, I'm like, mommy needs a minute to just adjust and chill. It's like, let's watch a TV show and then we will play. So that
Yeah.
works for us. She's very understanding, so she's very mature. There's actually times where she would be playing down in our living room, and then she would say, "I think I'm gonna go upstairs to my room," and I'd be like, "Okay, that's fine. Are you okay?" She's like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I think I just need to be alone." Like, okay, if you need me,
Yep.
I'll be down here. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
just
have to let my kid know that she's welcome everywhere in the house. She is welcome to always be in the same room as us. We
yeah,
don't always have to be doing something together. She does not have
right,
to isolate herself unless she wants to.
right,
Um, but that has always been first and foremost for me because so I grew up in a place where I wasn't welcome everywhere in the house. My presence was always kind of an inconvenience. So I have to make sure that my kid never, ever, ever, ever feels that. It's
yeah,
very
Yep.
important to me.
yeah. I
My
wouldn't.
biggest thing, especially. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I wouldn't say I necessarily felt that way growing up, um, but I don't know. I want her to feel comfortable talking about how she's feeling and what she needs, and um, the best way for that to be is leading by example. So I'm just very honest and open with her about what I need, and in turn, she has now been very open and honest with me about what she needs. And
Hmm.
in the mind of a 6-year-old, of course, she doesn't know why she
Very
wants to be
rewarding.
alone, but she wants to be alone. So by all means, go be alone. It's fine. I'll be down here if you need me. And then usually I'll give her 30 minutes or whatever, and I generally will go check on her just to make sure she is actually okay. She always is. She's normally just playing quietly in her room. She just, I'm pretty positive she has ADHD. To be honest with you, the
Yeah.
more I learn about it with me, I am pretty positive she has it. Just she needs to disassociate, just same way we do. It
Mhm.
She just needed
Understandable.
to be by herself and do her own thing for a minute.
Void time.
Yep.
Void
And it's
time.
funny because that whole situation with me is very different with my boys. Like, I tell my boys, hey, mommy just needs a minute. My boys immediately want to fix the problem. And
Yeah.
the irony is that it's just go play in your room. You're fixing the problem, but they want to help mommy. And so they go into immediate fix it mode and want to make it better for mommy. Little do they know that it will be better for mommy if mommy can just sit in silence for a minute. Like it's so sweet and it's so endearing because like my boys are like they care so much and they're such sweet compassionate boys, but they like that conversation for me does not work because they'll just be like, "Oh, well, what's wrong with mommy?" And then so it happened actually last night where I after the episode of My Demon,
Mhm.
I was bawling my eyes out because of just the heartbreak. And DeLuke was looking over at me and he goes, "Is mommy sad?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Oh.
mommy." I was like, "Mommy's fine." I was like, "She's just heartbroken." And so DeLuke's solution was to get a cup of water. And he walks up to me with this cup of water and he goes, "Drink some water." And then I was like, "Okay." So I like drank the water and he goes, "Does it taste good?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's just like, "Is mommy better now?" And I was just like, I can't even be mad at that. Like,
He
and
is so cute.
it
I love him so much.
it is so cute and it is so endearing, but like it's just that's the kind of thing that my boys want to do. Like they want to do something that makes me feel better. So I can never really have that conversation with them. So that's kind of where I have to like rely on my husband to just keep them distracted, because at that point I don't have to have that conversation with them. And Cody doesn't hide it from them either. Like he actually will say, "Okay, mommy just needs a minute." And then I can hear them in the living room going, "Oh, well, let's check on mom. Let's see what she needs." And he's sitting there going, "No, just let her be for a minute. She'll come back out here when she's ready." And he's like, just let her do what she needs to do in order to get done. And they kind of have to go, "Okay." And then they're okay with it after. So then when I do go out into the living room, they'll ask me, "Mommy, are you feeling better?" I'm like, "Yeah, buddy. Thank you so much for, letting me have that moment. Mommy just kind of needed to get back into home mode." And then
Mhm.
they'll move on and it's fine. Um, and really, like, I think that's the biggest advice I can give on this topic is know when to be open about it. Like, don't be afraid to let people know, "Hey, I need somebody to take care of me right now." And you would be surprised how open and receptive a lot of your friends and families and support in community settings are really willing to go above and beyond. Like, I am very close with my CFO at work. Like, he is a fantastic man that just is so amazing at mentoring and listening to me and really challenging me to think outside the box. So a lot of the days that I get really overwhelmed at work, he is the person that I go to try to think things through. And he is so great at, and this is what I love and respect about him the most, is on days that I'm not okay, I am able to tell him, "I am not okay today and I need help walking through this process." And he will sit there and he will walk through this process with me. And the biggest thing that I love about him the most is he will never just give me the answer. He will give me the resources in order to learn how to get the answer.
Yep.
And so a lot of the things in my career, especially like working on an executive level, as I've mentioned in our previous episodes, I I don't understand a lot of the company numbers sometimes, and he will sit there and he will explain them to me and let me know exactly what these numbers mean and then basically how to get these numbers. So that way, when these situations and these conversations come up again, I already know exactly what I'm talking about. And I love the fact that he teaches me. It's that saying of give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, feed him for a lifetime.
Yep.
He very much lives by that rule and he teaches me how to fish. And I love it. I love that work ethic. And having that strong community support is what I mean when I say, don't be afraid to tell people when you need somebody to take care of you, because you can't do it on your own. You really can't, which is how you got to the mental drain in the first place, was you trying to do everything on your own. So with that note, unless there's something else you guys kind of want to add to that advice or say something, that's probably where we're going to wrap up this episode, because I really want our listeners and our viewers to really think about that for your time being having listened to this episode, is think about ways that you really can focus on you, whether there's something grandiose if you can afford to do that, or if they're something just as simple as just sitting down and sitting by yourself. You would be surprised how much that can change your time. Like, one of the things Bugby and I are working on right now is we're trying to figure out an unplug weekend.
Yes.
And
I can't wait for this weekend that we haven't even planned yet.
yes, yes. And it's one of those things where we're just going to shut everything off and just get away from the world. And Red Rebecca obviously is invited, but I think she has plans. So I don't know, but but yes, we are planning an unplug weekend where we unplug, we get away from everything, we shut all of our electronics off, and we just do something simple, because it just needs to happen. Like, I have been so overwhelmed, and this is full disclosure, I have been so overwhelmed at work that I I need time to let my mind slow down. And all of the ways that my mind has been trying to warn me of this are officially getting too overwhelming for me. So we're working on planning that, and really the unwind period isn't us doing anything crazy. It is us locking ourselves in a room with our electronics shut off and just focusing on us time. And it is very hard to do, and it is something that I've talked about with my husband, and I've been trying to plan this for over a month, and I've been talking to my husband about this, and he's been fully supportive of this, and he's just like, just pick a day. He's like, but then my anxiety is like, you can't just pick a day. You've got like 50 million things to do. What the heck are you so go away, Vincent. um but like, he's just telling me, pick a day. He goes, I don't care what day you pick, just pick the day and I will make it work. And I'm just like, oh, you're so nice. Like, it just, but then Vincent's over here in my ear going, you can't just pick a day, you've got all these things to do. Like, what happens if somebody calls you and your phone's off? It's like, okay, so, like, and so Vincent and I are kind of duking it out right now, but we'll get there. So really, guys, think about that, and really think on what it is that you can do for yourself, and look at the little wins too in your self-care routine. Don't just look at, like, well, I don't have time to sit on the couch and like read for hours, I don't have time to do a skincare routine or whatever. Just think about anything at all, and focus on doing that, and figure out what it is that is going to give you that sense of happiness. I know that is a deep question, but it's one that's a good one to leave off on. So with that being the case, just remember,
You are always loved.
You are never alone.
and this is
And
just
this is
us
just
being
us
us.
Us being us.